First of all, I offer my standing Vrndavan Pushpanjali. My heart like flowers thousands and thousands of times at the lotus feet of Swadhyam Maharaj to Guru Bhagavad-arpita. Nitya Leela Pravist Om Shabhad Ashto Tarasita Susmad Rupanu Bhajanvaya Shila Bhakti Vedantanayam Swami. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands and thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, my Param Gurudev, and all my Sri Rupa Guru Bhagavad Guru Bhagavad. And thirdly, I offer my pranam to the son of Vaishnava. So today, we are taking this opportunity to speak about the subject matters that Sri Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad-Gita. So, please tell me, has everyone read Bhagavad-Gita? If you've read Bhagavad-Gita? If you have read Bhagavad-Gita, please raise your hand. Have read Bhagavad-Gita? If you have not read Bhagavad-Gita, raise your hand. No? Only one person did not read Bhagavad-Gita. So, every jiva in this world must perform some activity, because the jivas, the living entities, they are bandha, they are bound within a body. And Krishna said in Bhagavad-Gita chapter 3, Nahi kaschit chanavapi jatu tistatya kama-krit karya sheyhava sakarma sava prakrita jaya gunai. Every living entity must act. They cannot remain inactive even for one moment. Helplessly, by force, they are forced to act in this world according to the qualities they have acquired by the association with the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So everyone must act. It is not something that can be avoided. So the question is, what kind of activity is Shubha, auspicious for the living entity? What kind of activity is Ashubha, inauspicious for the living entity? And what kind of activity will bring about their eternal benefit? Because activities may be relatively auspicious or inauspicious, related to this world. But what type of activity will bring them an eternal benefit that will never be lost or diminished by time? So in this regard, Sri Krishna discusses in Bhagavad-Gita karma, akarma, Vikarma, Kamya-karma, Niskama-karma, Bhagavad-arpita, Niskama-karma, Bhagavad-arpita, Niskama-karma yoga, Padani Bhuta Bhakti, Guna Bhuta Bhakti, and finally Shuddha Bhakti, that is called pure Bhakti, or Ananya, one-pointed devotion. Niskinchan, Akinchan Bhakti. Kevala Bhakti, Kevala means exclusive, pure devotion. So, we can address these terms gradually one by one. So first of all, what does the word karma mean? What does karma mean? Raj? Yes, this definition is accurate, but needs something more. It said, the duties prescribed in the Veda. Karma does not mean only action. It means the duties which have been prescribed for each person according to their situation in society. Some are duties necessary to be performed by men. Some are duties necessary to be performed by women. Some are those of Brahmanas, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and then there are those related to the ashrams, Brahmachari, Grasta, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. So, depending on one's gender, depending on one's varna, depending on one's ashram, then everyone is born with a particular set of duties that they must perform if they are to not go down from the position that they're in. So, in chapter 8, verse 3, previously, in verse 1, Arjuna was asked, what is the meaning of the word karma? So the definition is given by Krishna in chapter 8, verse 3. He said, Bhuta bhavat karo visarga karma sangyaka, which means the principle of yajna, sacrifice in this world, wherein the jivas develop their next body, is called karma. Here, bhuta bhav udbhavo karo. Bhuta means for the living beings. Bhava means the cycle of birth and death. So bhuta bhava means the successive births of the living entity. Udbhav, udbhav, that which brings about. So that which brings about the successive births, one life after another, of the living entity. Visarga. Visarga means creation, and Visarga means the secondary act of creation. Karma sangita. In other words, God creates the universe, but then within that universe, each living entity, by the performance of karma, is doing a type of secondary creation of their next birth and their next birth and next birth. So this is the exact definition of karma given in Gita. Bhuta bhav udbhava karo visarga karma sangitka. Sangita means it is called. The word sangya means the terminology. So when you're discussing any subject, it has its own specialized terminology. For example, if you're discussing computers, then the word mouse does not refer to a small furry mammal. Right? So every activity has its own specific terminology, and that is called sangya. So here, sangita, in the specific meaning of the word karma is this: bhuta bhava bhava karo visargo karma sangika. That activity which brings about the successive chain of births according to the principle of yajna is called, which is a type of secondary creation, that is called karma. So, we can look at this in a little more detail. For that, you have to come to the beginning of Bhagavad-Gita chapter 3. Where here, Sri Krishna is describing the foundation of the Vedic conception of karma. What we have to do here is step out of our idea of the world that we have acquired by social conditioning and enter into another worldview, another paradigm. This is the Vedic paradigm, and this Vedic paradigm is the actual reality. Krishna said, Sahayagya prajashistva puru vacha prajapati anena prashavisyadham eshavos ishtakamatuk. This is chapter 3 verse 10. Krishna is saying, in the beginning of the creation, Prajapati Brahma created the Brahmanas who were qualified to perform yajna. And then he also created the devas, the human beings, and all other subjects. And he said to them, Aisha Vaha Astu Istakamaduk, which means, may you prosper by this yajna, performance of yajna, sacrifice, and may it fulfill all your desires. May the human beings please the devas, the demigods, by this yajna, and may the devatas please you in return by granting you your desired fruits. Satisfying one another in this way, you will attain auspiciousness. Being pleased by your yajna, the devas, the demigods, will award you your desired goals. Therefore, a person who enjoys the ingredients given by the devas without first offering them to the devas is certainly a thief. So here, see, Krishna is describing what is called the sansar chakra, the wheel of the material world, how it turns around. In this material world, we have deficiency. We are dependent on food to live. We are dependent on water and light and all of these things. So those who are ignorant, like animals, they think, oh, these things are just existing by themselves. No. All the food grains and the food for the grains of the food to grow depends on rain. So all of these things are being given to us by devatas, the presiding deities of the different aspects of nature. Surya Dev is giving us heat and light. Indra is sending the rain. Vayu is Devi sending the air. Not only that, even each one of our senses is predominated and controlled by one of the devatas, one or more. Nostrils are 2, so controlled by Ashwini Kumars. And ears, there are 10 devatas, one for each of the 8 directions and up and down. Because hearing gives us our conception of space and direction. So, the senses are presided over by devatas. So even our abilities to walk and talk and move and everything that we do are dependent on devatas. So, if we misuse the powers that they give to us by acting independently and enjoying the things that they give to us without offering to them, then what happens? Then you go down. In other words, if you by misusing the privileges that have been bestowed upon one by the devatas, then the devatas gradually withdraw those privileges. And so this is why there are lower species than the human beings. Because the living entities who have misused their senses in the human form of life, they have their privileges withdrawn and they gradually become duller and more controlled by nature, and their existences become more and more abominable. So these are the various lower forms of life. So here he's saying that when Krishna created the universe, he created Brahma, and from Brahman came the Brahmanas, and the Brahmanas knew how to perform yajna and engage everyone in yajna. Now, the duties of Varnashram Dharma, such as the duties that you have to perform as a Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Brahmachari or Sannyasi or Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra and everything. The performance of these duties is a type of yajna. Don't think that only making swaha in the fire is a yajna. But in Vedic society, it's understood that the performance of your prescribed duties is a yajna to please the devatas, and by doing this, they will reciprocate with you. They will give you rain, food, health, wealth, success and prosperity and whatever else you want in this world. They will reciprocate if you perform your duties properly. Therefore it's said, if someone will perform Niskama-karma, doing their duties perfectly for 100 births, then they can become Lord Brahma themselves. They can attain Brahmapad, the position of Brahma, or as an associate of Lord Brahma on his planet. So this is the opportunity given to the living entity. Only those who are born in the Vedic society or have the influence of the Vedic knowledge, they can be above the animals and understand what is their karma, their prescribed duties. And to follow that, try to follow that properly, is called the performance of Lokic Dharma, worldly Dharma. So, now what is the result of this? By performing karmas, then it will create for you another body in your next life. If you do your religious duties and please the devatas, then in your next life you can take birth among those devatas. In other words, go to Swargalok, go to heaven. So within the Vedic culture, those who are following the rules and regulations of Dharma, they're generally doing it because they think, I have to do my Dharma so that in my next life I can go to heaven. It's a typical formula which is there in the West. Be good and go to heaven, where you can enjoy. It's a material desire. So, for example, when the father dies, then the son has to offer pinda. So this pinda is they have to do a yajna in which there's an offering of a bowl of rice and other ingredients. And each one is offered to the fire, and then there's a transformation. And that transformation is that it should be done once a month for 13 months. And the first offering makes feet, and then legs, then stomach, arms, face, nose, ears. And the offering of the pinda, the oblations, actually transforms to create a very beautiful body like a devata in the Pitrilok. And this pinda is done by the eldest son for the father. Why? Because knowingly or unknowingly, the father may have committed some sins. And because of that, he will have to go to hell. So the son is called putra. Put means the hell, and tra means deliver. So the word putra, son, means one who delivers you from hell. If you have done deliberately or by accident any sinful activities, you have to, after death you will go and taste the result of that and be suffering. So the son, he has to do pinda, and in this way, by this yajna, he creates a very beautiful form like a devata in the Pitrilok for his father. In case his father is suffering, the father becomes released from that suffering and goes and lives on the planet amongst his ancestors. Because if you have a family and each son is doing the pinda, then each father will go to that planet and live for thousands of years. So then you can go and join your forefathers. Also in some Western cultures there's an idea that when you die you go to be with can be with the forefathers if you honor them in this life and so on. So all these are the aspects of karma. In Chandogya Upanishad, and also very beautifully explained in Vedanta Sutra, the knowledge of karma is called pancha agni vidya, the knowledge of the 5 fires. Pancha agni vidya, the knowledge of 5 fires, 5 sacrificial fires. If you can to grasp this idea of pancha agni, then you will understand what is the Vedic paradigm in regard to this world. So, it means that in any sacrifice, there is a fire, there is an oblation, there is an instrument through which the oblations are made. There is the person who performs the yajna, and there is the transformation. That is told also in Bhagavad-Gita chapter 4, text 24. Yes. Chapter 4, text 24, this verse. All these verses that I'm telling, you can learn them. They're important verses of Bhagavad-Gita. This verse, chapter 4, text 24, is the definition of the principle of yajna. Brahmarpanam brahmahavir brahmagno brahmanahutam brahmaevatin tikantabyam brahmakama samadhina. So, here Krishna is explaining the principle how if one performs his duties without attachment to the results, why Brahmagyan and offers the result to God, why the Brahmagyan the realization that I am not this physical body awakens within the heart. He's saying, first of all, if someone is performing a yajna without any attachment to the fruit for the purpose of attaining knowledge, then brahmarpanam, the offering which is made, that is the activity of the offering is Brahma, will be transcendental. Brahmahavir, the ghee which is offered, will be of a spiritual nature, Brahma. Brahmagno, the fire in which it is offered, will be of the nature of Brahma. Brahmanahutam, and the one who makes the offering will be of the nature of Brahman. Brahmaiva tena gantabhyam. And also what will be the result? Brahma-karma samadhina. The result will also be spiritual in nature. Because there is a complete absorption. All the ingredients, the 5 aspects of yajna, become purified of the gunas and become transcendental of the nature of Brahman. So, what happens when a person is performing a sacrifice and they take the ingredient of this world and they offer it into the fire, and then there's some transformation? If it's performed as an offering to God without any attachment to the fruit, then all the ingredients become of the nature of Brahman, become spiritualized. However, if the karmas, if the yajnas are performed with some desire, then the result will not be a spiritual result. It will not be of the nature of Brahman, it will make some material reaction. So pancha vidya is describing the principle of yajna for those who are working with some attachment to the results. So the first yajna means a person in this world is performing a yajna for the sake of enjoying and going to heaven. So here, the fire is the fire, you can see, the ghee is the ghee, and the instrument is the spoon, and so on. And there is some smoke from the fire, some sparks from the fire, and so on. These are all present. That means breakfast. But what is the transformation? So as we mentioned, when the person is performing a yajna in order to go to heaven, his oblations are transformed in that sacrifice and begin to create for him a body in the heavenly planets. And when he dies, then his soul will go and enter into that body in the heavenly planets. So we've discussed the offering, the instrument, the fire, the performer, and now the transformation of the oblation is that person's body in his next life in the heavenly planets. That's the result of the transformation. So that's called the first fire in vidya, the first fire. So then that person goes to heaven and he enjoys for a long time. But then what happens? After enjoying in heaven for a very long time, when his karma, his good karma, is not finished, but almost, in other words, there's a remnant left, then he has to come back down to earth. So now we have the second yajna. In this yajna, the earth is the yajna kund, or the place of the fire. The earth itself is the yajna kund. And the performer of this yajna is Parjanya, the god of rain. And the oblation in this yajna is the jiva himself. The soul becomes attached to a drop of rain and falls from the sky and lands on the earth. That is, so the earth is like the yajna kund, the place of the fire. The demigod Parjanya is the performer of this yajna, and the oblation is the jiva himself coming down in the rain. So it's the light of the fire is the sun, the sparks of the fire are the stars, and so on. So the idea is that all the various aspects of the universe, there are different aspects of one grand yajna which is going on. When the soul lands in the earth, now the question is, in this yajna, what is the transformation? What transformation takes place? How does the oblation transfer into something else? Grain, yes, grain. The soul is offered in the rain, and the rain is transformed into grain. And now the soul becomes attached to the grain. So that's the second fire. Now we come to the third fire. In this third fire, what is the yajna kund? The fire is the fire of digestion, the fire in the stomach of a human being. The fire in your stomach is a yajna. And the oblation is that grain is being offered into the fire. That means when the human beings eat, people are like animals. Their eating is just, drive up to the drive-through, order there, hamburger, milkshake, grab and just like this. No consciousness. No, eating is one kind of yajna, and it's the demigods who are performing. Our senses are controlled by the devatas, and the devatas use our senses as instruments for the performance of their yajna. So when a person eats, swaha, the devatas are actually making an oblation of the food grain into the fire of digestion. So, if there's attached to the grain is an atma, a soul, then when that person eats, the oblation goes into the fire of digestion. That this is the third fire. So then there's a transformation. What is the transformation? Yes. Sukra. Sukra means semen. So if that's eaten by a man and there's a soul attached, then in the fire that grain is transformed into semen. So then what is the fourth yajna kund? What is the fourth fire? Yoni. That means the womb of a woman is the next yajna kund. And so then the devatas perform a yajna, what the ignorant, foolish person in this world is calling sex, is actually manifested as it is the yajna. The devatas are performing yajna through the instruments that they control of the living entities. And making the next oblation, swaha, is the offering of semen into the womb of the woman. This is the fourth fire. And the transformation is Vikarma, the embryo. And then the demigods, they offer, now that child is offered from the womb of the woman and back into the world where he started from. So in this way, everything that we see around us, everything that we see around us, from the sun, the moon, the rain, to the bodily functions of eating and sex, These are all part of the karma chakra, the cycle of sacrifice, whereby the living entities, if they act properly according to the rules and regulations of the Vedas, according to their duties, they can go to heaven and fulfill their desires in this world, to have family and children and all of these things. And they'll be prosperous in this life and in future lives. This is the cycle of karma. Now, the devatas, though they control the senses of the living being, if the living being wants to use his senses for something else, then the devatas, they also empower the living being to do that. They allow them, but they will gradually, they're not pleased, and they withdraw the privileges. And so in the future that person, his body will be very weak and sick, or an animal body, or he will be born in a place where there's no rain. And where there's no rain, there's no food, there's starvation, and so on. So this is the meaning of Vikarma. We've discussed the meaning of the word karma. Now the meaning of the word Vikarma and akarma. Akarma means you have a duty but you neglect it, you don't do it. So akarma means the non-performance of your prescribed duties. And Vikarma means not that you have not only neglected to do your duty, but Vikarma means that you've gone against your duties. So those are directly sinful acts. So the performance of karma, proper duties, is called Shubha karma. It is Shubha, auspicious, relatively auspicious from the worldly point of view. And akarma, the non-performance of duty, and Vikarma, going against one's duties and performing sinful activities, both are ashubha, inauspicious, completely inauspicious for the living entity. So, just see how beautiful the Vedic paradigm or the Vedic conception of reality is. All the things, the rain, the sun, the moon, our sensory powers, the acts of eating and sex, all these things of the world, the whole universe is one big yajna. The whole universe is one big festival performed by the devatas, and the devatas themselves they are adhikrit das. That means they are servants who are appointed particular positions or particular jurisdictions of authority within the material world, in the same way that ministers in a government are appointed by the Prime Minister. So if Krishna is the Prime Minister, God of gods, then the devatas, they are appointed by him to perform different functions within the universe. And so the universe is going on as a great yajna for the purpose of for the happiness of God, to follow the instructions of God as given in the Vedas. So, let's say at the end of Kartik, you'll see in a yajna shala here, we'll have a big fire. So we'll be performing yajna, and if an ant will come and walk across the yajna kund, then this ant has no idea. He has no idea where I am. That I'm in the middle of this big yajna. So simply, the human being who is living in this world, not knowing that the entire universe is going on as a yajna for the pleasure of God, is like an insect, completely ignorant, completely foolish. This is why he said that dharmena hina pasuhi samana, that among human beings and animals, 4 things are common: eating, sleeping, defending oneself, and sex life. So these 4 things are common to human beings and animals. However, the human beings have one quality which distinguishes them from the animals. And what is that? Dharma. Religion. The sense that I have duties to perform, I am obligated to perform duties. Dharma, and depending on their development of consciousness, for the pleasure of the devatas or for the pleasure of Supreme God. So this dharma is the only thing that makes a human being different from the animals. So when the human being becomes aware that all existence is yajna for the pleasure of God, then they're actually a human being. And if a person is not aware of this, then they're wandering around like an insect in this world. No matter how many qualifications they have issued by any university, they are only well-decorated insects. So, we have discussed the word karma, Vikarma, akarma. Now, Kamya-karma. Kamya, K-A-M-Y-A, Kamya-karma. If a person in society, they perform their duties, they have two types of duties, Nitya and naimitik. Nitya means the duties that they have to do every day. For example, a brahmana every day, he will have to take bath 3 times a day, remember his Brahma Gayatri 3 times a day, and so on. Householders, they'll have to serve guests, receive guests, give in charity, worship the devatas, and so on. So each person has some daily duties that they have to do. That's called Nitya-karma. But then there's naimitik karma. It is a duty that you have to do not every day, but at certain times when the opportunity comes, you have to do it. So an example of naimitik karma would be the performance of a sacrifice for one's deceased relatives. It's not something that you do every day. When the circumstance arises, you have to do it. So these are obligatory. Now Kamya-karma is something different. If you have a particular desire that you want to be fulfilled, then you can engage some brahmanas in performing a particular sacrifice for the fulfillment of that desire. So this is not your duty, Nitya or naimitik duty, it's something that you want in particular, and so you're approaching brahmanas to perform the yajna for the fulfillment of that particular desire. That is called Kamya-karma. So, then, the next topic. Sakama-karma and Niskama-karma. Sakam means with desire for the fruit of the activity. So when the duties are performed, and what is motivating you? Because actually to do your duties in life very often it can be difficult. Yes? You have to face obstacles and it may be inconvenient and uncomfortable. But why will the person do it? Because he's thinking, I have to do it properly because in the future I will enjoy in heaven. So that is called Sakama-karma. Performance of the duty with a desire to enjoy the results of that. So that is binding. Obviously you have to take birth in heaven. But the purpose of the entire discussion in the Vedas of pancha, agni, vidya, the knowledge of the 5 fires, is to make the person become nirvate, disappointed and discouraged. In other words, if I do my karmas with desire to enjoy the result and I go to heaven, but the result of that is I can't stay there, I have to come back down again and take birth again on earth and do it again, then what is this? And so the Brahma Sutra or Vedanta Sutra begins, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Ata means now, and Ataha means therefore. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now therefore, the desire to inquire into Brahman, the eternal truth. And so the word now indicates, now, after studying the Vedas, under the guidance of a spiritual master, you've realized that all this performance of dharma and karma is completely futile, because you'll just go round and round and round in this karma chakra, and you've become nirvate, you've lost your enthusiasm, you are disappointed and discouraged in this. Ata, now therefore, Brahma Jigyasa, let's inquire about that which is eternal, that which lasts forever, that which is imperishable and supreme. So that is the first sutra of Vedanta Sutra, because Vedanta is the jnana kanda, the portion of the Vedas that deals with knowledge, which is meant to bring one to the platform of liberation. And true liberation means to be situated in one's swarup, in the eternal service of the Supreme Lord. So the jnana yoga, jnana can only be called jnana yoga if the purpose of that jnana is to attain Shuddha Bhakti. So the purpose of Vedanta is to attain Bhakti. Therefore our Srila Bhakti Pragyan Maharaj, he inaugurated this tradition of giving the name to sannyasis, Bhakti Vedanta, because the purpose of all knowledge is only devotion. So, if a person does Sakama-karma, the performance of duties wanting to enjoy, they will go up, then they'll go down and up. So this is the karma chakra. The implication here is that the way that the material world goes on is a collaboration between human beings and the demigods. The human beings please the demigods by the performance of karma, and the demigods, being pleased with the human beings, give them all the things that they need to be prosperous in this world. And so the material world is a very perfectly designed collaboration between humans and devatas. And so a duty means that a person has been born into this system and they're obliged to contribute to the system. It's just like if you're the citizen of a nation, you have to pay some tax, right? You live there, you get the benefit of protection from the police, and you get the benefit of roads and bridges and so on, and all the infrastructure of society, and therefore you're obliged to pay a tax to those who are supplying you with all of these things. Otherwise you're called a criminal and you'll be put in jail, you see? And so the entire universe is like, it's a universal society of collaboration between the devatas and the human beings. So every human being who's born is born with obligations and with debts. And so the performance of karma is like the tax they pay for the privileges that they enjoy. And if they don't do this, then they'll be put in jail, and that is called animal life. So, now, those who do Kamya-karma, Sakama-karma, those who do Sakama-karma, performance of duties with desire, then they will get the fruit of that desire. That means they will go to the heavenly planets, and then that means they make a body, but the result of this is they'll make another body and they'll come down, and in that body they make another body. So karma is called Bhuta Bhava Bhavo Karo Visarga Karma Sangita. That's the definition. Chapter 8, text 3, third and fourth lines of this verse of Bhagavad-Gita. Now we understand karma. Okay. So here, Vrndavan Prabhu is bringing up this important concept in Vedic culture. Generally, people think of life, that life has a goal. And those goals are called Purusha Artha. The Artha, the things which are valuable for the living entity are called the Purusharthas. And so it said there are 4 Purusharthas in Vedic society: Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha. So, Dharma means to do your religious duties. And the result of that is Artha, that you become economically successful, wealthy. The result of the performance of Dharma or karma is you become a wealthy person. And when you have wealth, then Kam, you can fulfill your Kam, your desires. Whatever it is. To have a very big house, to have many family members, to have a beautiful wife, to have 10 beautiful wives, 1,000 beautiful wives, whatever it is. So, but then the 4th Purushartha is called Moksha. That after fulfilling your desires, once your desires are fulfilled, then you'll lose interest in this world and you want liberation. Moksha. But Krishna said in Bhagavad-Gita that Kam, which is coming from the mode of passion, Rajagun, is like a fire, and it does not matter how much it's fulfilled. That's like putting ghee in the fire increases. It doesn't go out. So, but if a person, the idea here is that if a person who is intelligent works without attachment to the fruit of their work, their heart will become purified of Rajagun, and then they'll aspire for liberation rather than fulfillment of worldly desires. So, praying has been called pancha the 5th goal of life, the 5th and supreme goal of life, praying love of God. So, very often in Vedic society, people think that moksha, that's the goal. And that's why in India today, there are just millions and millions of Mayavadis and Dvaitavadis, and their goal is moksha. Even here in Vrndavan, you can see, just on the road here leading into Vrndavan, massive 60-foot high statue of Durga, and Hanuman, and so on. What are they doing here in Vrndavan? This is Krishna's place. But they're worshipping 5 deities. It's called Panchapasana: Durga, Surya, Ganesh, Shiva and Vishnu. And they think ultimately they're all one, and they're trying to get moksha, liberation. Just here on the Parikrama mark, as we return to our ashram, finishing our Vrndavan, there's a big one ashram there. And in Sanskrit, there is one Mahavakya from each of the 4 Vedas on the ashram. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Tat Tamasi Iva Brahman. Sarvam Kavanam Brahman. Everything is Brahman. Prakyana Brahman. Brahman is only consciousness, awareness of what nothing. So even in Vrndavan, so many persons, they think, I'm coming here to do my dharma and get artha karma and again to get moksha. So, but bhakti is called panchama purushartham, the 5th goal of life, and of course, in the presence of which all the other goals become completely negligible, insignificant and worthless. So, we have discussed Sakama-karma, the result of performing duties with desire. And then, now we discuss Niskama-karma. Nishkam, N-I-S with the dot underneath it, it's a sh. Nishkam means to do your duty without desiring the result. And Gyan means, the word Gyan means the cultivation of the understanding I am not this body. Now in Bhagavad-Gita, Sri Krishna explains that Niskama-karma, the performance of duties without desiring the result, for the sake of attainment of liberation, for the sake of attaining jnana, and also giving up all karmas and cultivating the qualities of knowledge in order to attain jnana and mukti. These are completely futile and completely useless. There is no result of them whatsoever. Why? Because only if it is Bhagavad-arpita do karma and jnana have any results. Bhagavad-arpita means it should be the karma should be performed without any desire, and the result should be offered to God. Bhagavad-arpita means offered to Bhagavan. So, unless the performance of karmas are Bhagavad-arpita and performed without desire, or unless jnana is also done for the pleasure of God, then both of these practices, they get no result whatsoever. They are completely useless. So, another important verse in this regard is the ninth verse of chapter 3, Bhagavad-Gita chapter 3 verse 9. Here Krishna said, Yagyartat kamanon yatra loko yam karma bandhana tadatam karma kontaya mukta sangha samachara. O son of Kunti, Krishna is saying, all actions other than Niskama-karma offered to Vishnu. Here it says Yajna for the sake of Yajna. One of the names of Vishnu is Yajna. And therefore Yajna is performed real Yajna is performed for the sake of Vishnu. So, Yagyata kamanon yatra, any activity other than Niskama-karma offered to Vishnu is a cause of bondage in this world. Anything that you do which is not your duty, done without desire, and the result offered to Vishnu, that activity will bind you. You will have to take birth again and again and again. Tadatam karma kontaya. Therefore, tadartam, perform all activities for the sake of Vishnu. Mukta sangha samachara. And in this way, be free from all desires for the fruit of your action. Mukta sangha, perform your activity without any attachment. So perhaps you remember when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met with Roy Ramananda. That time Mahaprabhu said, tell me about the goal of life. What is sadhya, the goal? And give some praman from Shastra. At that time, first Ramananda Rai said, Vanashrama charavata. You should perform Vanashram dharma. This verse is from the Vishnu Purana, and there it said, Purushena Parapman, and by the performance of Varnashram Dharma, do this to please the Purush. Vishnu Aradhatai Panta, this is the path of Aradhana, worship to Vishnu. Nanya Tattosha Karanam, there is no other cause of pleasing him. Now, you got that? This verse of Vishnu Purana is saying, Vanashrama Charavata Purushena Parapaman Vishnu Aradhate Panta Nanya Tattosha Karanam. Perform your duties, for your Vanashram duty for the sake of Vishnu. He can be worshipped in this way. There is no other way to please him. Now Mahaprabhu said, this is external. He said it's external. Why? Because, try to understand, that by the performance of duty, one performs duty and offers that duty to Vishnu, but the jiva has no Nitya Sambandha, eternal relation with Vishnu, the Purush. That means Mahavishnu, whose pastime it is to create all the universes from the pores of his skin. Garbhadakashai Vishnu, who enters into each one of the universes and manifests Lord Brahma from his lotus navel. And Kirdakashai Vishnu is the Paramatma who enters into the heart of every living entity and every atom of the universe. So the word Purush in this context means the Purusha avatars, they're called. The three Purusha avatars, Mahavishnu, Garbhadakashai Vishnu and Kirdakashai Vishnu. Mahavishnu is the Paramatma of all the universes. Garbhadakashai Vishnu is the Paramatma of individual universes. And Kirdakashai Vishnu is the Paramatma of individual atoms. So they're all Paramatma on their own scale. Each one being the angsa of the previous one. So, when one performs the karmas without any desire for the satisfaction of God, this is for the worship of Vishnu. You see? But any jiva is not eternally related because these three Vishnus are involved in the creation of the universe. And our swarup has nothing to do with the material world. Jivera Swarkoi Krishna Nitya Das. Our souls, the whole of our soul is the spiritual world. Whether a soul should be in Vaikuntha or Ayodhya or Dwarka or Goloka Vrndavan, every soul has a relationship with God in the spiritual world, not with the Purusha who is doing the Shrishti Lila, the manifestation of the material world. Understand? So, we have discussed karma, akarma, vikarma, Sakama-karma, Niskama-karma,
Kamya-karma,
Bhagavad-arpita Niskama-karma, and Kamya-karma. All these things we've discussed. So, now tomorrow we will discuss. Now we introduce the word yoga. What is it that makes something karma yoga? So far we have not discussed karma. None of these things are actually karma yoga. What makes something karma yoga? We discussed karma and jnana. But what makes it karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana, that means astanga yoga. What is astanga yoga? What is astanga yoga? Where does it fit in? Yes, there are 8 stages, yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahara. But where does it fit in? Actually, because it's an activity performed by the senses, Dhyana yoga is an anga of Niskama-karma yoga. Actually, it's part of that. So these relationships between them we'll discuss tomorrow, and also how an element of bhakti can be mixed in with these, and how the proportions gradually change, so that bhakti becomes more and more and more prominent until one transcends all karma and comes to the level of Shuddha Bhakti. And this is essentially what the entire flow of Bhagavad-Gita is all about. It's about catching the living entities and advising them not to do the Vikarmas and akarmas by which they will fall down. But because they are contaminated, they have desires, to engage them in karma, and then how to perform their karma in such a way that it will be non-reactive, and how they can introduce elements of devotion to their daily life. So gradually the proportions will change, and they will come to the practice of pure bhakti, by which one can realize God. And so that's what Bhagavad-Gita is all about. It's describing the activities which are for the upliftment of living entities in different levels of adhikar. Those who have karma adhikar, jnana adhikar, yoga adhikar, and bhakti adhikar, and so on. So, if one can become acquainted with these ideas, then you will have a deep understanding of the true message of Bhagavad-Gita. And without discriminating properly between all these things, we will not be able to know actually what is transcendental pure bhakti. I remember I gave a class similar to this, just a brief outline, in Switzerland. And at the end, one devotee, I said, are there any questions? One devotee raised his hand. He said, I'd like to make a comment. He said, alas, I have just realized that for 30 years I've been doing Bhagavad-arpita and Niskama-karma, and I thought I was doing bhakti. You remember? So, save yourself lifetimes of acting on the platform of mistaken conception, Swarup Brahm, by this important discussion of Bhagavad-Gita. Are there any questions? Yes, Vrndavan Prabhu.
Kamya-karma is the same as Bhagavad-arpita, Kamya-karma, and Sakama-karma. Because I read the one purport, so I was wondering if that's the same.
Okay, one time again. What two things are you saying are the same?
Yeah, Kamya-karma, since it's also mentioned Bhagavad-arpita, Kamya-karma. That is also included as Sakama-karma.
No, because you see, I'm not sure, you should show me where this is in the book so I can read around and look at the context. But essentially, Krishna, in the commentaries of our acharyas, they've said, when a person performs their duty with a desire for the fruit of it, but at the end says, oh God, I offer the fruit of this to you, it's cheating. And God will not accept it. Because they are impure and they have impure desires and they have no interest. So it cannot really be Bhagavad-arpita Sakama. You understand? So you can show me that and we can look around it. But there's another comment which is made here in the commentary that it's a kind of, it's just a duplicity. Yes?
I didn't understand which one is the fifth vidya.
Excuse me?
The fifth vidya, you were talking about the pancha vidya. Explaining the fifth one, but I didn't know the first one.
Aha, yes. So in the fifth one, then the living entity is born. He is born and he will have to die. He will be put in the funeral and he will be set on fire. So one of the fires is the funeral fire, one of the fire is the is the union of the male and female, the time of conception, going back the other way. One of the fires is the eating, the fire of digestion. Another is the earth when the rain is coming down, and the other is the performance, the actual sacrificial fire which is performed to try to go to heaven. So what this is trying to show is the result of your trying to enjoy in heaven is that you'll get a body and you'll just be burnt in the fire of cremation. Okay, that's the result of it in the end.
Prabhu asked how to, from the earth to heaven planets we will do by with rain. But how to get to the earth or to the heavenly planets from the hell's planet? From the hell's planet, how to get to the earth planet?
From which? From the hellish planets. Yeah. So Abraham who is asking, how does one get to earth from the hellish planets when you suffering? So it's exactly the same principle as those who go to heaven. When a person goes to heaven, how do they return to earth? By burning off their good karmas. By enjoying, they deplete their good karmas, and then so when they don't have enough good karma to stay there, they fall down to earth. They don't burn their good karma completely, they come to earth with a remnant of their karmas from heaven. So in this world, sometimes you see a person, if they're very beautiful, if they're very talented, and they have from childhood brilliant musical skills or great brain, it's because they've fallen from the heavens, and they've brought some karma with them which is superior to that of the general people. You see? Now, just as when your pious karmas are diminished, one falls to earth. So similarly, when the impious karmas are being burned by suffering in the lower planets, then one will rise up and again come to earth. So earth is a special place. The earthly planetary system is like a junction where you make the choice. What you do here will send you up. You get the momentum to go up, but you'll fall down. Or you make a momentum to go down, and you'll come back up again. So earth is called the karma bhumi. Because in heaven, in the Indralok, in there, it's very difficult to be religious and go up from there. Because there's so much enjoyment, it's such a complete distraction. People usually enjoy and then fall back down. But the planets above Indralok, starting with Mahalok, Janalok, Tapalok and Satyalok, these planets are full of rishis. And they're doing the sacrifices and meditation and doing sadhana, jnana sadhana and bhakti to go higher and higher and higher. But up to Bhurabhuva Swaha, up to Indralok, there they are enjoying.
Спроси, тоже с дождем и тоже из одного с наших планет, тоже с дождем, с каплями дождя.
The same with the rains and with the grains. No, how to say, from the earth to the hellish planets, how will we get there? With
like with the help of the Yamadutas. To get from, no, you don't come down in the rain in hell. No. If you're on earth, then when you die, the Yamadutas will come and they'll take you to Yamaraj, and then Chitragupta, he has a book with all your history in it, and then he'll read to you all the things that you have done, and then Yamaraj will decide what will be your destination. And then the Yamadutas will take you to whichever hellish planet is suitable for you.
Нет, как Джива с адских планет попадает в зерновое или нет? Есть капли дождя или без капли?
What I'd like you to do is write something down. If you have a question, because time is over, if you have a question right now, write it down, and we'll take the questions at the beginning of the next class. Think about all these things carefully. It's very important. Like yesterday, in our class about Uddhav Sandesh, I went over some of the fine points from the previous day. because it was clear that many had either forgotten or did not clearly understand them. So it's very important, after hearing you have to do vicharana, deliberate on it. And this is like chewing your food. If you only throw the food in the mouth, you'll die and swallow. You have to chew it. And only by chewing the food, then nourishment will come and this will help you. So simply when you hear Harikatha, you have to go away and think about it. You can discuss it with your associates and contemplate what is the significance of it. Pray to Krishna to help you, inspire you to understand. Pray to your Gurudev, oh Gurudev, please reveal this in my heart. So if you have any questions, write it down. And also, I would like the devotees to reading Bhagavad-Gita. If you have Bhagavad-Gita, good. If you don't, can get a Bhagavad-Gita from Kishori. And if you have run out, then just go to Gopinath Bhavan. Say, I have come on behalf of Prem Prayojan, and I want to get, and you get them from there, and then bring them here, and then they can buy them from here. Okay?
Which translation?
Oh, Gurudev's.
На русском Кишори.
Is it available in Russian? Oh, otherwise, if you have electronic voice device, it's available for free download in Pure Bhakti. Anyone can download this for free. You have in Russian?
No,
Electronic?
no, I have English electronic.
English electronic.
Okay, perfect.
Russian electronic not so good. Prayer.
I think the Russian electronic one is available, but it's not perfectly polished yet. So, but you can try. I think it's available somewhere. So, I want you to, this is your homework today, to learn the chapter titles. There are 18 chapters. Just what is each chapter called? What type of yoga? Chapter 2 is Sankhya Yoga, Chapter 3 is Karma Yoga, Chapter 4 is Jnana Yoga, Chapter 5 is Karma Sannyas Yoga, Chapter 6 is Dhyana Yoga, like this. Learn 18 chapters, 18 chapter titles, so you have some idea of the flow of Bhagavad-Gita. Then after this, then I will ask you to learn the chapter summaries. Gurudev has given just an overview of each chapter, the summaries. And then after this, just a few of the important verses which encapsulate the essence of each chapter, so that you can have the whole Bhagavad-Gita in your heart in essence. And then after this, we'll do the same with Srimad Bhagavatam. And then when you have whole Bhagavatam in your heart, then you will be called Bhagavan. The Vaishnava is called Bhagavan. Why? Because they are walking, talking, singing, dancing, Srimad Bhagavatam, embodiment of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the process, how to become Bhagavan, a Vaishnava, Bhagavatam. Gaur Premanandi.